Well, good morning, everyone. It is 8 o'clock, and it is Saturday, August 1st. Man, this year is flying by quickly and so forth. Let me just make sure everything's running over here and that I see everything that should be up there on YouTube. So hang on a second. Live. And there we go. Let me just make sure everything's
Yes,
running over
it
here
is
and
working.
I can hear and see myself. So, ask questions here. Okay, if you have a question, use the chat feature on my YouTube channel here. It's usually to the right or just underneath the screen here. And you can ask me a question. Remember, questions should be about cruising in French Polynesia, or general information about the islands, or places to stay for a pre or post cruise. So again, let's keep things on target here. Let me turn down the volume. There we go, I just muted it. So anyhow, let's give it a couple of minutes and see if anyone's bold enough to ask questions today. And if not, I'll just give you some beautiful pictures to look at. I always have lots of beautiful pictures. And of course, you're looking at a picture right there of the beautiful Paul Gauguin up on deck 8, heading towards Morea. Beautiful, beautiful sky. So let's give it a few, like I said, give it a few minutes here, and let's see if anyone asks a question. And let's see here. I can see people are watching. So let's see if somebody will ask a question. Because again, I am monitoring that to make sure if you have a question that I see it and so forth. So don't hesitate to ask me questions. Anyhow, what else? Yeah, like I say, this year has gone by quickly. By the way, for you, because it's been a month since I've done a live stream on here, you'll notice my face is thinning out a little bit. Yeah, I've been doing the GLP-1 journey, and I've lost 52 pounds so far this year. So, hey, every month they'll get, other than, you get the turkey gobble down here, which is sort of a pain in the rear. But anyhow, I'm feeling much better. I got a little bit more air in my step. And of course, my next trip here to French Polynesia, which is in November, I'm going to be very energetic. I'm going to be doing a lot of snorkeling and so forth. So I'm looking forward to this group cruise here in November 21st. By the way, there's 27 of us go, but I could still probably get a few more people, meaning one more couple, and then I'm going to be full. Anyhow, no other questions yet. I'm looking. No questions. So what else? What else do we want to talk about here before I just move on and show lots of beautiful pictures and so forth? Just some basic things. A lot of people ask me, what about tipping in French Polynesia? Well, that is a bag of goods there. 20 years ago, that was an easy answer. I would have said, no tipping. And that would have been perfectly okay and everything else. The Polynesians, or their culture, their history of their culture, did not tip. I mean, they did not like taking tip. They felt they did an honest day's job for an honest day wage, and they didn't expect anything more. About 10, 15 years ago, of course, cell phones started coming into French Polynesia, and especially with the youth. And the youth, of course, have now been seeing the world, especially where most people come from that go to French Polynesia and where most videos and everything else are, which is North America. So especially the Americans, they look here and go, well, it's customary that the Americans tip. So the younger people now have decided, hey, tips looks pretty good and so forth. So here's the general rule, and this is what I tell people. If you are interacting with somebody on an excursion or something, and you can tell they own the boat or they own the vehicle they're driving and so forth, and they're the tour conductor and everything else, don't tip. They're making a nice fair profit and everything else. However, or if a person, let's say, is, you see somebody, for whatever reason, you're thinking, do I tip or not? And they're over 40, don't tip. They're old school still. Now, if a person is younger and they're, let's say, a deckhand on the boat you're taking excursion on or whatever, and you know they don't own the boat, they're an actual hired help, yeah. And if they're under, let's say, 35 or under, yeah, if you feel they did a great job, you may want to go ahead and tip. Believe me, they will have no problem accepting it and so forth. But again, if you try to tip an older person, you're almost, it's almost a slap in the face. Again, they're old school, and it was customary not to tip in French Polynesia. So hopefully that answers some general question, a general question that I get asked all the time. Let's see, no questions yet. So what else? Just general things. When you fly into Papeete, into Faha International, and you come out of customs, if you go to your right and go down about 75 yards, close to the street side, you'll see an ATM machine. Usually there's money in there. It's a good place to exchange. Occasionally it's ran out of money, but usually it has money and so forth. Don't use the money exchangers, which is darn near across. When you come out of customs, you're almost looking at it. The exchange rate is the worst. So you want to go to the ATM there, or wait until you're in town and there's lots of banks around with ATMs and you can use your card and so forth and get cash. So again, do not use the one like when you're at the international airports like in Los Angeles or San Francisco or whatever. Do not try to exchange cash at the exchange booth. Worst exchange rate. So what I do, I bank at Chase, and I go to Chase about a week before my trip, and I say I need so many hundreds of dollars in U.S. converted to French Polynesia, and they'll say okay. They'll take it out of my account, and within 2 days they have me come down and pick it up. So I take the money with me. It's okay if you want to use the one there at the airport or wait until you get to a bank or whatever. Remember, if you're going to the outer islands and right away, like you fly in to Faha International and you're immediately going to Air Tahiti and going out to one of the outer islands, it's not like there's a bank on every street corner. And matter of fact, some of these islands don't even have a bank really. They have somebody that sort of exchanges a little bit, and then once a month that person takes a suitcase full of money and goes to Papeete on the airplane and exchanges their capital back to local currency and things like that. But again, realize that you're not going to see, like on Fakrava, or you go out to the Marquesas, or you go down to the Estrella Islands. There is no bank, okay? So keep that in mind. You want to make sure you have some local currency in your pocket. Most vendors on the smaller islands, or meaning less populated islands, they don't take credit cards. They want cash, okay? For you that are doing the itinerary for the Society Islands and going over to the Cook Islands, remember the Cook Islands uses New Zealand dollars, and they want New Zealand dollars. They occasionally will take US, but they really want New Zealand dollars. And again, if you're on a cruise ship, typically most cruise ships, especially even the ones like the Paul Gauguin, who's in French Polynesia, stationed there, they will not have New Zealand dollars. That's something you want to make sure you get before you head over to the Cook Islands of Atutaki and Rarotonga. So hopefully that gave you a few little tips here. I don't see any questions yet. Let's see here. Let me look down here just to see what the load is. Okay, let me reboot this really quick here. Sometimes the questions hide. Nope, no questions, okay, but there are people watching. So let's go ahead and start doing just some beautiful pictures for you to look at, and if a question comes up, I'll stop and I'll do my best to answer it and so forth. So again, you're looking at the beautiful Paul Gauguin here, and heading and steaming towards the island of Moorea. Beautiful, isn't it? Just absolutely gorgeous. Let's see, I can go to the next picture here. Of course, this is Mount Otumanu on the island of Bora Bora. I'm on the deck of probably the Paul Gauguin, and you're looking at Vaitape. This is the community of Vaitape right here. and the port is right here. But you know, most of the cruise ships, they will anchor and have that type of view for you of Mount Otomano. This is on the deck of the Paul Gauguin on deck 8 on the back. And again, this is a little dated, this picture here. This is during a Christmas time cruise. That's why the Christmas decorations there. And again, you're looking at Mount Otomano. Beautiful, just beautiful. And again, in Bora Bora, Mount Otomano up there, up on deck 8 of the PG. Another one of, no, this is in Moorea now, I can tell, coming in through the reef opening of the island of Moorea. I can see because there's Mount Rutu right there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is taken on the island of Wahine, I believe, on the east side. On the east side, yep, beautiful. You know, you get like on the island of Wahine or Raiatea, if you get to their smaller parts, which is usually on the east side, they're less populated. There's not a bunch of resorts there or anything like that. And you get into real Polynesia. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you can walk along and find a place all to yourself and no one's going to bug you. Again, this is going through the reef opening, leaving Wahine. And yes, that's the side of the island right there. And you can see the captain up there on the flying bridge. And look at how close you are actually to the edge here. You could, if you have a good arm, you could probably throw a rock and hit the island. You know, it slides right in here. That's one reason why, again, I'm going to pick out going on a smaller ship is a great way to go, because it goes into some places that the bigger ships cannot go. You know, you could not take a 5,000 passenger ship and come through that reef opening right here. It would not happen. And so smaller ships have access to a lot of places the bigger ships. And remember, even now the bigger ships, a lot of the islands do not want them in, and they're actually holding them off now. If they have too many people, like over 2,500, they're not letting them in. And that's my understanding. As the years go on, that's going to get squished down further, that eventually if a ship has more than 1,000 passengers, it will not be welcomed into that particular island. It's too hard on their infrastructure. You know, like when you go into an island, let's say like a Fakrava, that only has 800 people living on it. They don't have the infrastructure for a big cruise ship. The small ones like the PG or the Starbreeze or the Aranui, they do. And so a big advantage for going on a small ship. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about taking a cruise to French Polynesia. I don't see anything. Let me reboot over here and make sure I'm not missing a question. No questions yet, so let's move on. This is taken on Wahine again, on the east side, way on the east side. You can't get partly any further east looking out there. Look at, there's just nobody around. You see that little boat there, someone's little fishing boat and so forth. But look at there, you can see the coral down there. You can go snorkeling and things. No one's going to bug you. Again, the Paul Gauguin, another day, another trip, and it's steaming towards, again, the island of Moorea. You know, it always amazes me that every time I go to French Polynesia, I get these incredible sunrises and sunsets. It's just every day is like a beautiful light show with lots of color in the sky, and it never gets old, never gets old. This is taken at Motu Mahana, and the people, this is taken a few years ago, and people are wading through the water before they actually had the walkway built from the tender location to the island, and you had to wade the last 50 yards. Yeah, 50 yards, probably an honest number. And of course, the Gauguin and Gauguin is there, inviting everyone to the Motu. And again, this is Motu Mahana. This is Paul Gauguin's private Motu. This is looking out towards the island of Moorea. And again, it's a Christmas cruise, obviously, because there's some Christmas decorations and so forth. all framed up for you. That's looking on the west side of Moorea. That is the opening to Opunupu Bay right here. So I guess we're heading to go into Cook's Bay. That would be my guess. And again, this is taken at Motu Mahana and their famous floating bar. Again, a Christmas cruise. Look at all the Christmas decorations. But this is really cool because you can just flop around in the water, you know, get in a kayak, be on a floaty, whatever, just or in the water, just vegging there, enjoying sitting in 2 or 3 feet of water. And the bartender will bring the bar to you. Again, this is taken a few years ago, the tender coming into Motu Mahana, the ship in the background, and what I call the Polynesian god sitting there waiting for the arrival of the guest. Beautiful scene, beautiful scene. This taken in Opunupu Bay, and there the Paul Gauguin is sitting there. Beautiful. You know, Moorea is so picturesque. It's just a little bit of everything. Has a pretty decent lagoon too, but the ruggedness of it, and it's just incredible. And again, Moorea is so accessible to, let's say, lots of the other islands in French Polynesia. Moorea virtually is a 30-minute ferry ride from Tahiti. It is an excellent place, especially for pre or post stays too. If you're only staying a day or two, then stay in Tahiti while waiting for your cruise. But if you've got 3 days, I'd be taking the ferry over to Moorea and staying at a place over in Moorea. Get out of the riffraff of Papeete and enjoy a few days there. And then when you take the ferry back, the ferry terminal is virtually about 150 yards from the cruise terminal. So you can drag your bags 150 yards. I know you can, or wheel them and so forth, but it's really accessible. And a little hint here, if you do that and you're going to take the ferry back across to go board your ship, make sure you don't take the last ferry of the day. I always like a little cushion there. So again, the second to the last ferry, or one earlier, but don't take the last ferry. Usually they go like clockwork and there's never any problems, but I always like having a little bit of a cushion. So again, this is taken on Wahine. Look at that, just beautiful. Up from the Belvedere location on Wahine. Beautiful. This is inside the room. This is a balcony room, obviously, because I can see the chair and the tables back there. And of course, there's always a lovely little bit of fruit and a little fresh flower, and so of course, greeting you when you come in your room. Just beautiful. Let's see if we got any questions over here. Nope, no questions. We'll keep going. And we just saw that picture. Okay, this is taken on the island of Wahine. And the ship, we were in Maui Bay, and of course the tender's coming in with a load of people and so forth. Here's the Paul Gauguin sitting in Opunupu Bay on the island of Moorea. Beautiful. We saw that picture already too. That's leaving Wahine, going through the reef opening. And another picture taken in Moorea in Opunupu Bay. Just so photogenic. You know, again, Moorea is just, if you're a photographer or like taking pictures, it doesn't matter if it's a cell phone or you got a nice professional camera, you will not be disappointed with the scenery in Moorea. Just absolutely gorgeous. Another one taken in Opunupu Bay. Yeah, beautiful. And another one. You're getting Opunupu Bay a whole lot today. Beautiful. I like taking pictures like this. You know, something, by the way, I am a professional photographer, just so you know. And when you're doing photography, you're always looking in layers. You're wanting to put things like, if I was to put my tic-tac-toe here, you'll notice the ship is on a third meeting point between a line this way and a line this way. It's on a third. And then you want something in the foreground, so you're sort of layering it. So you got something here, and something in the background. So it's layered, and it makes the picture a lot more interesting. Okay, enough of the photography today. Let's go on. And again, the Paul Gauguin sitting in Opunupu Bay. Beautiful. And another one. Wow, I sure have a lot of pictures here in Opunupu Bay. Beautiful. But look at how photogenic it is. It just, another thing too, you notice here, another photography tip. You notice I it's on the third here on the water line, the third here where the ship is located, where they intersect. But you'll notice now this frames the subject. The subject is the Paul Gauguin. But I find things to be able to frame, and it makes the picture much more interesting. Again, we looked at this one too. This is taken on Wahine, up on the Belvedere. And this is in Moorea. That's the Cook's Bay Resort now, right there. They've redone. And you'll see the locals, they love getting behind the tenders and taking a ride with their outriggers and so forth on the wakes. And it's a lot of fun looking out the back of the tender and seeing the guys out there, enjoying the day. This is taken in the Laguna Taha. Actually, obviously when we were going over to Motu Mahana or leaving, and that is the Li Taha Pearl Resort on the island of Taha, and that is Mount Otumanu. This is a little bit of photography trickery again. It's called compression. I use a long lens, and it makes the things in the background look larger than life. In this case, this was a 200 millimeter lens, if I recall. But, Mount Otumanu there in Bora Bora in the background, that is 13 miles away. But it makes that mountain look bigger than life. Great place, again, to stay for, if you're going to want to stay, like, if you have, let's say, a week before or after a cruise. This is a wonderful resort. And the drift snorkel is right behind here. You've heard everyone talk about the famous drift snorkel. It actually sits and borders the property here at this resort. Paul Gauguin sitting there in Papeete again. Look at the colors in the sky for this sunset or sunrise, don't know. This was probably taken somewhere between Rarotonga and Bora Bora, if I recall. But look at the color again, just phenomenal. And I know this one was taken between Rarotonga and Bora Bora. Just liked it. You got a line here at the water line, and a line that the cloud makes heading towards the sunset. Look at that. It's good photography again. And a nice little starburst again. This was probably taken between Rarotonga and Bora Bora. Look at that. Beautiful. Love taking pictures of sunsets. And we started with this picture here. Well, and we've seen these now already. So, let's see if we got any more questions coming in yet. I don't see any questions being asked. So, we'll call it a day. And again, I'm sort of hoping that we get some more questions there. And one thing you're going to want to take when you go over there, you're going to want to make sure you bring some Tahiti drink home. I always do. And, I take some wine over with me, and I always put it in a wine sock, it's waterproof. And these slide right in there, too, to take things home. But the Tahiti drink, which is basically a rum drink and so forth, it's a fruity rum drink. This is really yummy. And, of course, you can always get good beer over there. Everyone drinks Hainano, but there's also hula beer there. Ha ha. Yeah, that's me. A picture of my mug many years ago when I was in better shape. Hula beer. No, okay. We'll check one more time, see if you have any questions here. No? Okay, so I'm just going to go really quick here, just on my well, here, let's go do this here. Let me close this down, and we'll open this up, and we'll go over here and right here. Open that up and move that over here. Open that up big. All right, this is my next cruise in November 21st. Group cruise, 27 of us going. Again, I have room for a couple of more people. And November 21st, 11 nights round trip, Society Islands and the Cook Islands. There's the itinerary. Here's how to contact me. Here's the info right here. You can see the starting point price. Look at that. Now go look at it online and see what the price is. I'm going to tell you this price is probably around 25% less. Plus I'm giving some onboard credit. So great group pricing. And if you're a loyalty member of PG, you'll get your loyalty discount off of my great group prices. If you are a Canadian resident, meaning you spend more than 6 months of the year in Canada, there's also another 5% Canadian discount. Everything's included, all your meals, your gratuities, the use of the private islands and so forth like that. I always make some private excursions just for my group, and of course I make sure there's always some onboard credit for everyone. Let me go to the next here. These are the excursions for that particular cruise. Again, we'll be doing excursions on Wahine, on Atutaki, on Bora Bora, and Moorea. And of course, there's still plenty of other days where I have nothing planned that you can go ahead and use your onboard credit to use for ship excursions and so forth. But again, you get an idea of everything that's included and what I put together and so forth. And again, these excursions are only available for my group members. I don't let anyone else in unless if I have a few openings and I may put it on Cruise Critic or something. I got room for a couple of people on an excursion. I always like making sure my vendors, if I tell them I'm going to have 25 people, I will have 25 people because they're planning for 25 people. They're making sure their boat can accommodate 25 people. You get the idea. I always like making sure they have a full load. So occasionally, I'll do that. Let's close this down and let's go over to here, May. And we'll look at that flyer really quick. This is May of next year, May 29th. Here's the flyer again. It's the Tuamotus and Society Islands, the 11-night itinerary right there. There's the itinerary right there. Everything that's included. And again, a great group price here, much less than what's online and so forth. Everything's included again. Again, no single supplement fees. If you're a single, and by the way, there are already 4 single people signed up to go on this group cruise with me. So if you're a single and you've always wanted to go, but you're going, oh, I don't want to go if I go by myself, then who am I going to buddy with? Who am I going to sit with dinner with and so forth? Just know there's a whole a group of single people. They don't know each other yet. So you would all get to learn, to know each other and so forth. But you would not be the only single if you go on this particular group cruise. Again, here's how to contact me. There's my email and so forth and my phone number. And the excursions, I have 6 planned for this on Wahine, Raiatea, which includes the drift snorkel, Bora Bora, Fakarava, which I'm really looking forward to. I got a special one planned for that. Much different than anything that's offered by the ship excursions and things like that. Rangiroa, we are going to go out to the Blue Lagoon, which I have not gone out there for about 10 years. I usually always take people to the Green Lagoon, but because so many people come back with me time and time again, I like mixing it up a little bit so they're experiencing something different. So in this particular one, when we're on Rangiroa, we're going to go out to the Blue Lagoon, and of course we have the one on Moorea, the 4x4 that goes up to the Belvedere, pineapple fields, distillery, and of course we end up at Magic Mountain. So all sorts of things there. I'm going to show one more really quick here. Just And this is March. And this is the Singapore to Darwin, Australia cruise on the Paul Gauguin. And I have a bunch of people going on it. And again, if you've ever wanted to go to Java or go to Komodo Island, which is where the big dragons are, or Bali, it's all in this particular cruise. Look at that. You know, Bali. Beautiful. Whoop. And another picture of the floating gardens here in Singapore. Look at that. These are people up here walking through the man-made trees and so forth. Just beautiful. And of course, the big dragon lizards. Look at that. Big boy. Another one of the walkways up in the trees. Beautiful. Look at that. By the way, up here on this hotel right here, this whole med section up there, it's a swimming pool. Yep, a swimming pool. Look at that. Beautiful lights of Singapore. Nice little beach in somewhere in Java. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. The ship goes from Singapore to Darwin, and then from there it heads to Fiji and then back to French Polynesia. It goes to Singapore every other year for its upgrades and redoing the carpeting, and you get dry docking. Look at the colors there in Bali and so forth. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Another one of the islands up there. So that's in March of 2027 next year. And again, I have a group going. And if you've ever wanted to do something out of French Polynesia, but you love the Paul Gauguin, this is an excellent cruise to consider going on. Let's see. Well, we don't want to do that. Okay, and, well, I don't mind telling you. You can see the starting price right here, $61.80 for 13 nights on the PG, all inclusive, including, the port taxes, everything. I'm also tossing in some onboard credit on there again and so forth. But look at the starting price there. Now go look online. I'm going to tell you again, this is about 25% less. Okay, enough said on that. We're going to call it a day here. And again, I don't want to show my mug full here. It showed too many wrinkles. Let's see if we got a question up here at all. And no, we don't. Remember, the main reason why I do these on the first Saturday of every month, 8 a.m. Pacific time, right here on my YouTube channel, is to answer questions. It is your opportunity to ask me. Remember, I've been in French Polynesia 35 times, 23 by small cruise ship. So you really can't ask me something that I probably don't have an answer for. And if I don't have the answer, usually I know where to go find the answer. So it's really your opportunity to ask me questions, and I'll do my best to answer it. So yeah, I enjoy sharing pictures and things like that too. But the main reason, of course, is to answer your questions. So remember that. Looking at for September, the first Saturday in September, 8 a.m. Pacific time, again here on my YouTube channel, I will do another question and answer time, and hopefully you can ask a question, or people will ask questions. So we're going to call it a day, and you all have a rest of the weekend. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I know I am. It's going to be a little warm today out here in California where I live, but it's still going to be a beautiful day. So we're going to call it quits, and I'm going to stop the streaming. You all, again, have a blessed day. Bye-bye.